Number 2, how long does a move usually take? If you've never moved before, this can be a tricky thing. You want to plan around the move, and we get that. We'll do our best to condense your move into as little time as possible because it helps you and helps us serve the most customers. So to start, every move is unique. The length of the move will depend on your situation, but here are some general time frames that apply to most customers. Packing, if we're doing it for you, 1 to 3 days. Loading, 1 to 3 days. Now transit can be a few days to up to 2 weeks depending on where you're going, and unloading again, 1 to 3 days. So all in, it's typically 2 to 3 weeks for interstate moves. Local moves are typically 1 to 3 days in total. Now your specific circumstance could change this, so your estimator will review the specifics of your move. However, once you know how long it will take to move you, most people's next question is, when will I load? Well, your estimator will put in your move contract details about when we will load you. Keep in mind though, it's typically a range of a few days instead of a firm date. Now we do this because with high demand for services, promising a specific day is not usually possible. However, we'll be as upfront as we can about when we can load your shipment. Some local moves can get firm dates though, depending on the time of the year and our availability, but for most customers, expect to see a range spanning a few days on when we'll be there to load your home. And the same is true for delivery. Your contract will list a range of dates, called a delivery spread, instead of a single date. But what does this mean? Can you just pick the day and that time to receive your move at destination? No. We develop this date range based on how many miles your driver needs to drive and how much weight your shipment has. Like airline pilots, there are rules to how long a driver can operate in a single day. They need their rest too to drive safely. Whether your driver is going coast to coast or just state to state, the driver must follow stringent guidelines put in force by the federal government. Among all the rules they must follow, regulations limit drivers to a specific number of hours per day. They're required to electronically log that time and mileage to prove that they are complying with these regulations. And if they break these rules, a roadside inspection by government officials will shut down the driver. Now they aren't allowed to move the truck if that happens, and that leaves your belongings stranded. Nobody wants that. To further add to the logistics, the driver may also need to stop along their route to load and unload additional shipments onto the truck. Now each truck is packed to try to maximize efficiency, so that each customer can get loaded and unloaded as quickly as possible. And not only that, but when trucks are utilized more efficiently, it keeps moving costs lower for customers, and that's one of the benefits of using a van line. Now, we've mentioned unforeseen or logistical changes a few times, both in loading and unloading, but what would those be? And how likely are they? Things like mechanical failures, weather-related storms, hurricanes, blizzards. These are all factors that can come into play and affect the time frame that your actual delivery occurs. These are things outside the driver's control. Still, they can and do play into when the actual delivery happens during the delivery spread. And while they aren't necessarily common, they do occur. So it's best to be aware so that you can plan a contingency if they do happen. As a moving company, we've moved hundreds of thousands of customers over our 70+ years in business. And our job is to give you the best, most realistic picture about how your move will progress, because we believe that the more you know, the better your experience will be, and that's what we want. So what does all this delivery information mean for you? First, you will need to be available on any one of the days listed in your delivery spread with a minimum of 2 hours notice. That's the legal requirement from the Department of Transportation that they require of you. Still, we will always attempt to provide you with 24 hours of notification before we deliver. Most drivers can tell you on the day that they load when they intend to unload, barring any logistical or unforeseen changes. Suppose the delivery does somehow move outside the delivery spread. Well, in that case, you may be eligible for a delay claim to help compensate you for the delay. Before you sign your move contract, review that with your estimator and make sure you're eligible and that you know how it works if you need it. While most customers don't ever need to file a delay claim, it is there if you need it. And lastly, your driver is the sole person who knows when they will deliver your goods. Once loaded and on the way, the moving company can only get an update from the driver. He's the keeper of information about where the truck is and when it will deliver. But we'll keep in touch and make sure to pass along any updates or changes if they arise as soon as we can.